I've got a gentleman that's in the middle of nowhere, unsure if he's potentially lost consciousness. We're working off of eastings and northings at the moment.
What happens if you have a medical emergency in one of the most remote parts of Europe?
Ambulance service, whereabouts in Scotland is the emergency?
Starlight potentially severed his arm.
Glencoe Mountain Resort Ski Centre.
There's blood pouring out a mouth.
It's in the middle of a field at Loch Ness.
The challenges we've got in Scotland are unique. It's a massive landmass to cover. Finding trauma patients is like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
There's no nearby road. It's not vehicular accessible.
A pioneering new service, the Scottish Trauma Network, is rising to the challenge.
He's a confirmed head injury with loss of consciousness. We're looking for patients who have sustained trauma, who are seriously unwell.
End call.
Emergency call, trauma team by road.
I'm going to task you by air.
Bringing the hospital to the hillside.
We are on scene attempting a land-on, over.
It's almost like the patient is coming to a hospital, but it's just a small square on a hillside.
It's amazing what they can do in the middle of a field.
We'll see the decisions that are made by this elite network of clinicians,
Where's my arm?
expert call handlers, and specialist lifesavers,
Ready, brace, move.
combined under one new super service.
The patients are being brought to the hospital having had these extraordinary treatments delivered in the field, did not previously survive.
We're on the rooftop of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow.
Now we are going to see survivors.
We have a male who's been attacked by a bull. The horn has went into his leg and they've applied a tourniquet.
Nearly 5,000 999 calls are made across Scotland every single day.
It's just been upgraded to a red.
On the major trauma desk in Glasgow, a specialist clinician can listen in to any of these calls.
2 motorbikes head on.
Is there any obvious injuries?
Yes.
Sounds as if there's some significant bleeding.
For critically ill patients, the desk can dispatch an elite medical team by road or by air.
Can I have 79 in the trauma team to 740, please?
Bringing the skills of the hospital right to the scene.
Now we will be with you just as quickly as we can.
What is the address of your emergency?
Kyle Rea on Skye.
Kyle Rea on Skye.
Yeah. And I'm underneath my quad bike and I've lost my arm. I need a helicopter.
Right.
It's inaccessible.
I'm going to find you by your phone location. What's your name?
Ewan. Lindsay.
Right, Ewan. We're going to find you. We're going to get someone out to you, okay?
Have you seen this one that's coming in at Skye for the quad bike incident?
I'm at work.
Where do you work?
Pylons.
You work on the electricity pylons?
Yeah.
Ewan has been trapped under a quad bike for 3.5 hours. By digging a hole around his pocket, he's finally been able to reach his phone and dial 999.
If the mobile pinpointing's correct, according to our mapping, there's no nearby roads. It's not vehicular accessible.
Listening in to a call, learning that this patient is on his own, stuck up a hillside in the middle of nowhere with a vehicle on top of him. This is a very high chance of being a life-threatening injury.
Ewan, are you there? Ewan, are you still with me?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're still with me, Ewan?
Yeah.
Ewan? Ewan, say yes if you hear me. Ewan?
Ewan.
Send Heli 5.
Got you, mate. Kirstine, can you task EMRS and Heli 5 to Skye?
Hems call, Helimed 5 and trauma team. Helimed 5 and trauma team to area of Skye. Details following. Grid reference, November Golf 786250. It's on the east side of Skye, south of the Skye Bridge.
Skye?
We have a quad bike accident. It is on top of him and may have severed his arm.
Kevin.
Hiya, buddy.
Chances are he'll need to be winched.
I'll phone the Coast Guard.
As well as the trauma team, a wider network of emergency responders are dispatched to the coordinates of the remote hillside on Skye.
We have our raid response back.
Consultant Neil and Registrar James will form the specialist trauma team responsible for providing the medical intervention.
Severed arm? There's no two ways about it. I think to anyone that would sound really dramatic.
When we're dispatched to a job, we'll be given a limited amount of information.
As doctors, we start off with worst-case scenarios in our head and then work back from there. But situations like this, and there's every chance the patient may be bleeding to death.
Here, mobilised a trauma team of 2 doctors who are going to head in the direction of Skye to assist.
That is all received. I'll put that over.
The trauma team must travel 45 minutes by air to the scene before finding a safe landing site in remote and rural terrain.
The most dangerous part of most of our missions will be the landing process. We're landing at an unsurveyed site that's not designed for a helicopter.
God, look where it is, oh my God. So it's probably very steep.
You've seen the contours, there's absolutely no chance of it landing.
Skye is a really remote part of the UK. It's mostly untamed Scottish Highlands. And the distances just make it even more difficult because it's not just simply telling someone to drive around the corner. Some people can't wait the time it takes to be transported to hospital. Often you can't even land the helicopter anywhere near. So there's lots of things that can go wrong. It's definitely concerning. That patient could die.
Ewan, are you falling asleep?
I'm passing out.
Right, you need to stay with me. Stay with me and take deep breaths. You're okay. We're coming to get you. Helicopter's on the way. You still with me, Ewan? Ewan. Ewan.
Heli 5, trauma desk. So we've got Rescue 151 who are attending from Inverness and yourselves. This is an extremely remote location with no road access. If you're able to land, that is the primary plan. Secondary plan, make your way to Broadford airstrip.
Roger that.
The trauma team have been dispatched to civil engineer Ewan, who has been trapped under a quad bike for nearly 5 hours.
If you could just keep a lookout for me. Still quite close at the tail. So I'm going to just do a very slow approach in there. We'll call that finals. This is my finals. Okay at the back? Yes, Okay, good. Thanks, guys. That's good work.
Landing on uneven ground, the helicopter can only drop Consultant Neil and Registrar James close by.
I'm going to get the 2 bags, mate.
Before leaving the scene to refuel, so the patient can later be transferred to one of 4 major trauma centre hospitals. A second Coast Guard helicopter also arrives to assist the trauma team, the RNLI, Coast Guard and fire services.
We are giving the patient the quality of care they would have in an emergency department, right at the roadside, right at the hillside, where the patient is. Seeing someone on a hillside is no comparison to seeing them in a nice, warm, well-lit resuscitation room bay, where you have lots of space, there's lots of kit that we have around us, people to come and give us a hand on tap. At scene, it's a completely different world.
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you.
You're totally exposed. It's not a day at the office. You can't predict it. I literally have no idea what's going to happen. No idea. It could be anything.
Everybody can hear?
Yeah.
This is you and what's happening now.
Okay.
This is happening now.
Okay.
1650 kg.
Okay. And left arm underneath. Yeah.
Use the pen. Dig a trench there. Fire service to establish ground anchors. Please stop this from rolling.
Do you want to do an initial assessment, James?
His left arm is completely trapped. He has tender on the left rib cage. He is a little chilly in the hands. Been trapped 5 hours since 11 o'clock.
BP drop.
It just means if we have to do something.
Tour Group 38, this is the trauma team. Just a quick update. We are just on scene.
Taking helicopters has landed with lifting gear. Initial plan will be to lift the quad-bike off the gentleman.
And then extract. Further plans will depend on how we go over the next 10 minutes.
A second helicopter has landed with lifting gear. He's still trapped underneath it.
Each service has a chain of command. I'm effectively the medical commander of the incident. The more services having input to the job, the more difficult to coordinate it. Whatever you're doing, you have to make sure we have good, clear lines of communication and be sure you bring order to the chaos.
You can secure the vehicle up there so that it's not going to slide once it goes up this side.
When we release him, there is a chance of bleeding, definitely. So I think significant hemorrhage is unlikely. If there's a hemorrhage, we need to stop it. Okay.
Bleeding's our main worry. Hemorrhage is the #1 enemy in trauma. When trauma patients die, by and large, it's from hemorrhage.
You have to be on your toes to make sure that the release doesn't cause a problem such as bleeding, which is going to quickly make the patient worse.
Let's get the drugs now, mate. James.
Thank you.
The physical trapping is squeezing the blood vessels, stopping some bleeding.
If you come in this side.
But if you remove that machinery, those blood vessels are released.
Yeah, just move that somewhere.
Hemorrhaging out of the wound, out of the stump or the injured arm, that can kill people really quickly.
For that release, it'd be great if you were on standby to help chop off clothes. And also if we have the hemorrhage pack in case it's junctional, we have seal-locks handy as well.
You're looking to secure the scene and make a plan for how to get the patient out.
When we're ready to release, the idea would be to move him down slightly by a foot or two, turn him onto his back with the rescue vest.
And we lift him up to our pre-prepared area up here.
But if we rush in and potentially cause things to become unstable, we can directly harm the patient. That just can't happen.
Where you want to?
Right, we're going to get another one put through to us, I think. What's that? Job 446.
In Glasgow, at the major trauma desk, calls continue to be assessed across the country.
Ambulance emergency. Can I get an ambulance, please? Okay, and what's the address of the emergency? Where are you? It's at the bridge at Mill Hill between Gartley and Huntley. All right, so tell me exactly what's happened? Yeah, he's lying on his back as a cyclist in a crash with a load out. What is it he's collided with? A telehandler with a bucket. He just crashed into the front of the bucket there.
In a small farming community in rural Aberdeenshire, a 51-year-old cyclist has had a head-on collision with a digger bucket.
Straight to Aberdeen. Aberdeen Royal, red response.
Absolutely. Aberdeen Royal Infirmary is the closest major trauma centre, an hour away by road from the remote location where the incident occurred.
Are you able to give me some more details, please?
As someone that's always worked in a hospital in London, moving to Aberdeen, things are completely different. We see quite a lot of rural and industrial type incidents because of where we are. And I think that's what makes it quite challenging and very different from any other area that I've worked in. The clinicians that work up here are trained to manage that extra element of difficulty. They're up for that challenge.
See you in a bit, bye.
Cyclist colliding with a digger bucket. I don't even really know what that is that's hit that person. You don't know what to expect.
Hi guys, P1.
What have you got, guys?
About 2 today, cyclist into the front edge of a digger. But he hit the bucket, so it wasn't serrated. That struck him, it looks like it struck him in the throat. Could have been a collision, up to 30 miles an hour. He's got 2 wounds, quite significant gashes, about an inch and a half underneath his throat.
Ready? Just want you to say yes if it's sore when I press, okay?
Oh.
Where's that sore?
Oh, yeah.
Where? There?
Down the back of my neck.
Okay, is that where Jasmine's pressing at the moment?
Yeah.
It's definitely.
Oh.
Here?
Jesus.
Good man. Well done.
Deep breath in. Okay, is it sore doing that?
Difficulty in swallowing.
We want to get some imaging of your head and your neck to see if we can get a closer look at those wounds.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're obviously getting difficulty swallowing and want to make sure that your airway's all right as well.
Right, we're going to take you for the scan, okay?
With a neck trauma, sometimes it is a little bit like detective work. What's the most likely thing here, such as an airway injury? Probably going to get a better view if we take your head huggers off.
Okay.
But you've got to stay really, really still.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to get up and run, Jasmine.
Okay, you promise. Lovely. All right. Bless, he's a lovely guy.
He is nice, isn't he?
Cycling for Craig is pretty much an obsession. Craig and I have been on some pretty amazing cycling trips. I think for Craig it's a real necessity in his life. We've got so much experience of emergency situations happening in our family. So for me, I just go into practical mode. You just have to deal with things as they come along.
Chances are, because it was a rural accident, that it might have been in touch with farm material, manure, and so there's bacteria that can be incredibly dangerous if infection was to spread. Things can change quite quickly, and that could be catastrophic.
Ready? Be careful.
5.5 hours after a quad bike accident on a remote hillside in Skye, civil engineer Ewan is still trapped and is slipping in and out of consciousness. The Coast Guard have secured the 650-kilo quad bike with guide ropes, while the fire service places a pressure-releasing pillow underneath to help free Ewan.
To just identify that landing site for Heli 5.
The trauma team's own helicopter has been called back into position in case releasing Ewan causes serious bleeding and he needs a quick evacuation.
This is trauma team leader with an update. We now have the quad bike secured and are shortly to lift it, although we are watchful for hemorrhage or further injury when he is released.
Well received, thank you.
I hope it's not amputated.
But it's 5 hours lying trapped under a quad bike, so time is key.
Would you want to stand back and kind of coordinate the movements of it?
Absolutely.
And I'll get in with John doing the hemorrhage. Have the hemorrhage pack handy.
We have that unpredictability when we're coming up to releasing a patient. I think every clinician's worst nightmare is making something worse rather than better, because we don't know until they're fully released how bad this is going to get. So we're really on high alert.
You feel the pressure coming off you.
I think it's scary for the patient, so I'm scared for the patient.
Everyone got a bit? No.
Everyone ready?
Yeah.
Right, go.
Yeah, go for it, Carl. Right, they should take the weight, yeah?
Right, okay.
Slowly, just slowly. Just slowly.
Okay, that arm can go across there. So we'll get over and get that stabilised. Let's get over there. Holy fuck. Well done, Ewan. Good man.
Ewan. Yep. Ready, brace, move. And back.
Ewan's arm is still attached, but it does look badly damaged.
Yep.
The pre-hospital environment has lots of challenges, so we need to make sure that we immediately improve the situation for the patient when we get them out of any further danger. We make sure they're not going to suffer any more injuries. And then we start looking at the injuries as a whole and how can we improve this.
Okay, well done guys, thank you. I think he's got petrol burns in his left upper quadrant. Can you see the break? I think shoulder and humerus might be gone. I don't know what's going on.
Where are you sore?
Where's that hurting?
Where are you sore, Ewan?
All over.
All over, okay, pal.
Where's my arm?
Your arm's there. I've got a ring. Your arm. You're out. You're taking you out.
If a patient can't feel their arm, that tells me there's probably a problem with the nerves. What I don't know is how permanent that problem is.
So it's technically it's an open fracture, so we'll give him some antibiotics as well.
If you have an open fracture of a significant bone, like your humerus, infection is a risk for that limb surviving long term.
We try to give the antibiotics as quickly as possible because the big thing we worry about is the infection making it harder for the bone to heal. Waiting to get to hospital to have that intervention could be too late.
We're just going to get you wrapped up, Ewan, okay?
How you doing, pal? All right?
Yeah.
You're a good man.
Ewan, you're doing really well.
You can have patients who are treated with antibiotics and all the right things initially, but despite that, they get an infection and they have to have an amputation.
1, 2, 3. Take big, deep breaths, Ewan, all right?
There's Neil Hughes on Sky. He's now been released and we will be with you at about 6:50.
Okay, we're going to slide it. 1, 2, 3.
All right, if you want me, squeeze my hand. I'll hold your hand, all right?
Hi, Amy. Can I activate the helipad, please? You've got Heli 5 coming in.
If we bring the skills right at the roadside, right at the hillside, we can then get the patient's journey started earlier. And actually, if you do that well, you see that when you take a patient into the hospital. It's like they've jumped forward an hour into the hospital journey. And actually, everything happens much quicker.
Julie.
Have you seen that?
703, Julie.
Like 1 wee minute and I'll have a look. Tell me exactly what's happened.
Hit his arm with a chainsaw.
Make sure that there's something covering it. Make sure it's right on the wound and press down firmly and don't lift it up to look.
It's really deep. It's a chainsaw that's done it.
It's a 17-year-old male who has cut his arm with this chainsaw. What's the address of the emergency?
Balphone.
Can I phone it back? This job is never black and white. It's mostly grey. Sometimes we might need to phone back to be able to probe deeper and get a better handle of exactly what is happening.
Hello.
Hello, it's ambulance service here. Can I just get a little bit more information about what's happened, please?
So Saw's hit his arm.
Okay.
Just above his wrist. Got it bandaged up and got a tourniquet.
Where have you placed the tourniquet?
Top of his forearm.
So literally just above the cut?
Just literally above it, yeah.
Okay. How tight is your tourniquet?
We got it very tight.
Very tight. All right. And can you tell what time, this is quite important, what time did you put that tourniquet on?
28 minutes past 10.
Okay. The application of a tourniquet is potentially a lifesaver. But there are a couple of problems associated with it. That perhaps, for example, the tourniquet isn't on tight enough. Or when the tourniquet is on properly, it restricts all of the blood flow. So actually, if they didn't need a tourniquet, then you run the risk of serious tissue and nerve damage. I think what I'm going to do is maybe just take a little bit of further advice on this and I'll call you back on this number, okay?
Right, okay, thank you.
Hi, Steele. How can I help? There's a 17-year-old kid in Balfron who has a deep laceration to his forearm. I've just upgraded this to a red job. The problem that I've got is that they've put a tourniquet on it above his arm at 28 minutes past 10. It's now 10:42. They've done an amateur one, but I think it's pretty tight. They weren't happy at loosening it, but I'm very aware that this is his hand. Yeah, I know the clock's ticking.
In which case, then, why not just leave it? We'll get going.
One moment. Where's Helen just now? Are they far away?
Just got to find out.
Heli 5 is en route to a non-urgent patient transfer 50 kilometres from Balfron, whilst the 3 remaining air assets based across Scotland are out of reach.
Sorry, Neil, I'm just seeing where they are.
Can I just ask what your location is at present? We may have a tasking to Balfron. We have to divert from Campbelltown, over.
Our resources are finite and they are precious. It's important not to task these teams to something less serious. It has to be for a specific intervention.
Probably 5+ minutes back to base, over.
If you task a team to another part of Scotland, that's hard when you realise the effect it might have on another patient.
Yes, all received.
Can they do a rotors running?
They will divert back to base.
Divert back to base now.
Heli 5 begins making its way back to base, rerouting to pick up trauma consultant Neil and paramedic Richard, whilst keeping the engine running.
We'll get stuff together, so we'll go with your plan A.
Okay, cheers, bye.
Cheers.
Chainsaw versus flesh. There's only one winner in that scenario.
Often the wounds that are sustained are very difficult to control.
The types of injuries that occur are unbelievable.
So that's just some fluid going in because I think maybe dehydrated from, was it 60 miles you said you cycled today?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I was 3 miles from finishing. But I've seen some beautiful scenery this morning. It's lovely.
In Aberdeen, a CT scan has revealed that cyclist Craig has a hole in his throat after turning a street corner and colliding with the serrated edge of a digger bucket.
Sorry. Ooh. So then that one can see the depth there.
I must have given it a good bash. Ooh.
Really, I think his main injuries here are those neck wounds that I think will need a closer look. You need to have a focus with every trauma patient. Often patients are stoical, or even if they're just so shocked by what's happened, they just haven't really noticed how bad this could become. It intensifies your need to make decisions and make them quickly.
Have you got a few children?
Yeah, 2.
2 children, how old are they?
One at 16, one at 13 yesterday.
Ah, boys or girls?
Both boys. Ellis is the oldest one.
I like
Louis is the
that
youngest
name.
one. He's got major disabilities.
Your youngest son?
Yeah.
What's he got?
He was a 24-week preemie.
Oh.
So he comes with complications.
It makes you realise that patients coming through and having a difficult experience within already quite a difficult life that they're leading. I'm aware of how disruptive this one event's going to be for this person. He's awake and chatting to me. He's told me your name. I think that's really important. Yeah, he did say, and I was wanting to know if you're managing okay. Are you doing all right?
Louis' disabilities run our life. Everything revolves around his needs. He's developed quite a severe form of dystonia, which is quite common with certain types of cerebral palsy, so he just has no control of his body. Normally, Craig and I share a lot of Louis' needs. Feeding is on a schedule, his medication is on a schedule. We basically juggled everything together. It is an awful lot to deal with. I couldn't do it myself. So Craig being in hospital impacts absolutely everything we do.
Our surgical specialist is here at the moment looking at him. We're wondering whether actually he'll need to go to theatre to get them looked at because of where the wounds are. The depth of those can sometimes be worrying.
Do you want to look as well?
So swallow for me again, please.
We've dealt with so much with Louis over the years, me having to look after Louis and Craig longer term. It's just too much to even fathom.
Just me come to explain the surgery in a bit more detail, if that's okay. We're concerned that there might be a little hole in something we call the pharynx, which is part of your throat, basically. The best way to deal with that is to actually stop you from swallowing.
Stop me from swallowing?
Yeah, so that would be feeding you with a tube from the nose.
Okay.
Because of the wound you've got, it could give you a nasty infection in the deep parts of your neck, which can track down to your chest. So we've got to be pretty careful.
The neck's very complex. It's a very tight space with a lot going on. It's only really a few millimeters before you're at these major structures. If either the pharynx or larynx perforates, it can cause bad infections. An infection there can be life-threatening, unfortunately.
A bit grim, the thought.
Yeah, NG tube, okay.
Yeah, an NG tube, yeah. Do you have any medical experience yourself? Or?
My youngest is severely disabled, so he's well experienced.
With a high risk of infection, Craig must go for emergency throat surgery this evening to clean out his wound. Civil engineer Ewan has been flown to the Queen Elizabeth Major Trauma Centre after nearly 6 hours trapped under a 650-kilo quad bike.
Just please save my arm.
Hello, I'm Fiona, I'm the consultant.
So this is Ewan. He's got a fracture of the humerus, so it's an open wound. And you keep asking whether we've still got an arm or not.
Right. He is incredibly lucky that he was able to get to his phone.
I mean, you could have been there, definitely.
Scary, isn't it?
Scotland is a beautiful country. The remoteness is part of the attraction. And to a degree, that comes with a slight cost, particularly when seriously unwell or seriously injured. But if it happens to you in Scotland, you won't believe the number of people who come and help you.
So we're going to get ready to go to CT scan. Are you good to go? Yeah, happy? Right.
The humerus covers a complex network of nerves that come from the spine and supply the sensation and the motor function to the arm. His injury is right where that network of nerves lies.
She's just probably had a twisting injury. And...
The implications long term are not known. It depends what they find in the operation. So it's absolutely critical to get surgical intervention.
With extensive damage to his humerus, Ewan will need to go for emergency surgery to save the use of his arm.
Eastbound, this is Hillside 5 and trauma team estimated on scene in 9 minutes over.
The chainsaw has slipped onto his left forearm. There is a fair amount of bleeding. Bystanders have placed a tourniquet on his arm just above the injury. I'm aware that tourniquet has now been on for about half an hour.
A 17-year-old tree surgeon has cut his arm with a chainsaw in a rural village near Stirling. An ambulance crew has arrived on scene, but the trauma team are still en route.
Amidst for this patient, unable to assess the wound, tourniquet is still in place.
So Helimed are more or less just overhead the scene.
Have a quick look. That looks like it's got quite a slope, actually. There's a big football pitch right here. Right here, yes. It's a bit flatter.
Going to any incident that's got a young person, I'm a dad. I immediately think, you know, this could be my son.
Eyes open. Okay, so just wires, everybody. Yep. Clear my side. Clear the tree.
You can think about those things en route to the job, but once you're there, you have a job to do and you have to focus purely on that. There's no point you being on scene with that emotional baggage.
What's the quickest way? Is the gate round there, or we just over that fence or over here? You manage.
When we get on scene, you need to locate an area that you can control. It's almost like the patient is coming to a hospital, but it's just a small square with on a road or on a hillside. I need to get all my kit set up so we can actually treat the patient, and that is the hospital for that patient.
Hello, my name's Neil. You've got Darren and Richard.
We've got Oscar here, 17-year-old male. Oscar was cutting off the tree and he's got a 2-inch laceration to the outside of the arm, about an inch deep.
Yeah.
Trying to estimate how much blood loss has there been, that's a very difficult thing to do. Grass and sawdust can accommodate a huge amount of blood without really showing much sign of it.
We're all working to help you, okay?
It wasn't actually a chainsaw, it was actually the log.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was going to say, it didn't look ragged enough to be a chainsaw wound, so... He's bounced off the bone, I suspect, so he's gone through the soft bits and stopped. Take this off, and then we'll swap the tourniquets over. My plan is that you don't lose any more red stuff than you already have, okay?
Paramedic Richard loosens the amateur tourniquet, replacing it with the trauma team's precautionary alternative.
I'm just going to pop this under your arm, okay? Good man.
A cat is vital for hemorrhage control. These are military-grade tourniquets. Through the years of blast injuries and traumatic amputations, all troops were given these to stem the flow of blood. Once you put that on, that waits on that patient until there is a surgeon standing by to repair whatever blood vessels have been damaged.
Oscar, are you happy for me to take a picture of this and show surgeons? Perfect, so that can be redressed.
Okay.
You take your tourniquet off now, it's done its job.
Yeah.
You might start to get some tingling in your fingers as a bit more blood gets into it. Can you feel me touching your fingers here, Oscar?
Kind of like numbness, kind of.
Feel me touching everything.
You can see.
It's a dangerous career choice, being a tree surgeon. So I was always worried about anything that might happen to him. Oscar's always been a very outdoorsy young man. He would go out and make things out of pieces of wood in the garden. But he struggled a lot at school. It made him very unhappy. So I removed Oscar from school to homeschool him, I think when he was about 8.
Our plan is an air transfer to the Queen Elizabeth.
He's a 17-year-old male tree surgeon sustaining a penetrating injury to his left forearm with loss of sensation in his thumb and index finger.
That's much appreciated, thanks.
Just getting quite anxious here.
Yeah, I'll get ketamine out, but I'll give him morphine first.
Okay.
Less than a 10-minute flight till we're on the roof at Queen Elizabeth, okay?
LA5 are en route to the Queen Elizabeth with their patient.
Particularly given that he didn't have a traditional education, it was a huge relief for me to know that Oscar had found a job that he enjoyed and wanted to take further.
It's a young person with their whole life ahead of them. The thought of losing a limb is a major life-changing event.
This says trauma desk, are you receiving? Over.
Aberdeen 1 done, dusted. Can we pop this back on your finger?
At the major trauma centre in Aberdeen, Craig must undergo emergency surgery to avoid infection in his throat after cycling head-on into a digger bucket.
See you around there before you go off to sleep, and then when you wake up, I'll be on the ward round tomorrow to see you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Great.
That's all.
I've spoken to Tracy.
Oh, yeah?
I've let her know that you'll be with us overnight.
Okay.
So she knows what's going on. But don't you worry about that right now. And like
Yeah.
you said, she's very calm and collected. We're going to get you to lift your head slightly. Sorry, because I know it's sore.
We spent quite a lot of time in hospital for the first 2 years of Louis' life. We had to make quite a lot of decisions about how we would look after him. And we had to make the decision that I would give up work. We had no idea how long Louis would be with us. We still don't know if he'll reach adulthood, to be fair, but it's a decision that impacts us because someone has to always be with him.
You all right there?
Really struggle to breathe.
on to swallow.
Is it? Okay, okay.
We can loosen it off if it's too tight.
Every day for Louis is different. He can have good days and bad days, but you do it because you're a mum and dad, and you just get on with it because you love your child. It's something that you just have to do.
Right, you stuck with me. Just no moving your neck.
I think I've been a good voice so far, haven't I? Model patient.
Absolutely. Patients need accurate, decisive decisions because you know that time is of the essence. You're wanting to be as slick as you can, and the trauma network allows us to give the best care to every patient that comes through who's been involved in trauma.
Gamma helmet 5, that's us landed back at the QE. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Last wee bit, Oscar. Get you into the emergency department and hand you over.
17-year-old tree surgeon Oscar has arrived at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow in need of urgent surgical intervention.
So that's him, and his mum's number's in the back. So there's blood all the way down the tree. He was cutting the log and the log's going in. So that's his wrist down that way.
I should still be able to sort of move my hand about and down the scan.
Let's get the scan first to assess the damage. My mum will be worried.
Okay.
Right.
Hi, it's Paddy Tony here. I'm one of the doctors. Basically, Oscar's had a bit of branch go through his arm.
To remove Oscar from formal education was a hard decision to make, but Oscar had opportunities that wouldn't otherwise have been available to him. And I think they gave him the confidence which he needed to make the decisions that have allowed him to decide on his future career choice.
It's very tricky to know at this point because there's a little bit of loss of feeling in the hand as well, and that can sometimes indicate nerve damage. He will need to go to an operating theatre to have this washed out and repaired. So at the minute, the plan is just to get a scan of the left arm.
I didn't have the full picture at the time, but one of the things going through my head was the life-changing nature of Oscar's injuries.
Oscar, we're in the CT scan room now. You just lie nice and still, and then we'll get you back to see your mum. All right?
It would be devastating for him to lose the use of that arm. He's just starting out in life. I think to take the knock of having a disability like that at such a young age when he has such a physical job would have a huge impact on him.
The tree surgeon, the tourniquet one, yeah. Well, I think it was basically ropes they used for lugging trees around. I know, poor guy, that's pretty awful. I think trying to make time-critical decisions when the information is really scant, it is pressurised. We don't always make perfect decisions, but I think we always do the best that we can on the information that we have. Well, that's good. That is. Cheers. It's nice to be able to make a difference to patients' lives, and it makes you feel good about the service that we're able to provide to these patients to try and give the best outcome that is possible for them.
When I was up there by myself, I kind of thought I was a goner, but I'm still alive. Ended up all the nerve endings have stopped working, so yeah, it's going to be a long-term rehabilitation. I'd like to thank every single emergency service once I'm fit and healthy again.
My voice has changed a little bit. My swallow has changed a bit as well. I have to chew my food a lot more. But I haven't had the time to reflect on it. It's more so a case of how lucky I was.
It's really good having him home. I'm certainly not angry at him at all. Life's too short, you've got to enjoy yourself.
I'm married to somebody who's extraordinary. Everything we deal with in our daily lives, looking after Louis and what we've had to deal with in that time, we just get on with it.
Definitely kind of shocks you when you hear the word amputation. I was in theatre for about 6 and a bit hours, and they pretty much patched my arm back together. Long-term recovery-wise, he said it could take anything up to a year, but I'm hoping to go back to the world of tree surgery and get back on track.
We have a 41-year-old male who has been crushed by a dumper truck.
End call. End call.